Welcome back to the Krafty Kristina YouTube channel. I'm Kristina, I'm crafty, and if you are new, this channel is where I share all about my knitting and crafting adventures. Come on in, have a seat, grab a cup of something warm. We're gonna chat today. Today I have a very special video for you. I'm going to be talking about all of the things that I want to knit in 2023. 2022 has come to an end and I am so excited to talk to you about what things I would love to make in the new year. I've got mostly clear needles. I've got a yarn stash full of pretties that I want to focus on knitting down. And I've got a full list of things that I would love to make, finish, or frog in 2023. So sit back, grab your knitting, a cup of something warm and delicious, and let's get into it. Okay, my friends, excited would be an understatement for all of the things that I am going to talk about today. A new year to me means new opportunities, new goals, and most importantly, new knitting projects. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 16 patterns that I am going to make, finish, or frog in 2023. Yes, you heard that right. I'm going to be frogging some things right at the top of 2023. I've got a list here in front of me of some points I want to touch on, but I've also got my Ravelry page up. I'm going to scroll through and make sure I'm giving you the most accurate information when it comes to these patterns. And I'm also going to pop a picture over here throughout this video so you can see all of the patterns that I'm talking about, and I'll also link them in the description below. To start, I think there's nowhere else to begin except what I am going to frog in 2023. Yes, frog. If you are a returning viewer, you may recognize these projects from the very beginning of the Krafty Kristina YouTube channel and the Krafty Kristina Knitting Podcast. I have been holding these two projects in my stash near and dear to my heart for a very long time. Probably like 2.5 years, 3 years for one of them. And as I was looking through my stash and as I was planning, I just realized my heart was not in them anymore. The yarn is beautiful. I love the yarn. I'd like to repurpose it, but let me show you what I'm working with. The first project that I will be frogging in 2023 is my Pebble Tunic by Joji Locatelli. This is where I'm at with it. As you can see, I'm pretty far. I'm pretty far in. But I just don't know, after looking at it and sitting at it, I love this color so much, but the pattern is so simple and relaxed that I think I'd rather repurpose this yarn for a more romantic project. I really loved the relaxed fit when I cast this on, but I was very new to like indie dyed yarn and different yarn weights and fabrics and materials when I cast it on initially. And I think I cast this on at the beginning of like 2021, maybe the end of 2020. That feels kind of crazy to say. The yarn is a discontinued color, the color lavender. I think I got it from Knit Picks. It's like Cloudborne fibers or something like that. It is a soft, squishy DK alpaca blend. It is so soft and beautiful. I just think this yarn would be suited in another project. And also in the traveling and the moving that we've done, this has started to come unraveled and I don't want to try and fix it. So this is something that I will be frogging at the beginning of this year to get that yarn back. And then hopefully make something a little more romantic. The second project I will be frogging in 2023 is a pattern that I should have known better when I cast it on, that I would not like it and stick with it to finish it. The pattern is the Annalise wrap by Loop Knits. It's a wonderful pattern. It's a very easy pattern. It's a very mindless pattern. And it's a very fun pattern in a way to use up a lot of things in your stash or make a fade. It's a beautiful wrap, kind of like a skinny, it's a thinner scarf. I would wear it as a scarf. My initial plans for it were to knit it flat and then join it in the round, so it would be an infinity scarf at the end. The downside there is that it's knit stockinette flat. I don't like knitting stockinette flat, and I know that, and I don't really know why I thought I would actually make this when I cast it on. Let me talk about the yarn and the inspiration though. When I first moved back to Pittsburgh, I think it was like my first or second week back in the area, the Steel City yarn crawl was happening. And I was like, well, waiting to start my new job, I'll go to the yarn crawl. And I did. And I went to, I think 6 happened that year. 6 different yarn stores around the area. I met some new people. I met my local yarn store. And I decided that I would purchase 2 things from every yarn store that I went to. If there was an exclusive colorway to the shop, I would buy it. And if there was another special item that I wanted, that I felt that I needed, or could use for a project that was in my, you know, in my queue, or my favorites in Ravelry, then I would buy it. So I got this yarn set. First of all, let me show you. I've already started frogging this. The yarn looks like this. And it is a beautiful Kogu. I'm really bad at saying this. It's like Koigu. It's a painter's palette. And it was created, it is 6 50-gram skeins. And the yarn shop that I purchased it at, I think it was Sewickley Yarns, had loads of these kits specifically for the Annalise wrap. So I saw it hanging up. I thought it looked really beautiful. I saw these beautiful fall colors in this kit and I thought, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna make it. And I cast it on and it was fun at first, but then, as I normally do, I get very bored and annoyed with stockinette flat. And that's what happened. So I actually have another pattern in mind that I will talk about later that I really want to repurpose this yarn for. But for now, the Annalise wrap is going to be frogged in 2023. Moving right into projects I want to finish in 2023, I'm going to talk about a project that I started maybe a month or 2 ago. I am so looking forward to working through this and making it and then cuddling it up, and that is the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart. The Habitation Throw is a pattern that I think a lot of people often use advent calendars for if they get one, or mini skeins, and that is exactly what I've decided to do. At the end of 2021, I had initially decided that I was going to make northeasterly blanket with my 2021 advent calendar, and I started it and I really loved the way that it was looking and the yarns were so beautiful, but ultimately it became very tedious and it's for the most part a mindless pattern, but I decided for me that I would rather use it in a different way for a different pattern, but I did really want a throw or a blanket. And so I took to Ravelry, I searched and searched and searched, and ultimately I decided that I would knit the Habitation Throw in a similar way that I had planned to knit a northeasterly. Let me hold this up here and show you. Apparently I'm in the middle of a row, which I didn't realize. But this is what I have going on so far. And as I was looking through the Habitation Throw projects, I noticed that there were several people that did a mirroring effect so that both sides of the blanket matched. So instead of, I think the pattern is written that you're just supposed to knit until your mini is gone, or until the stripe is the thickness that you want, and then once you get halfway through your minis, then you start to decrease, and then your blanket is finished by the time you run out of yarn. For me, I really love the symmetrical look of the mirroring technique that a lot of people used on their blankets, and my initial idea for this advent calendar was to alternate a bear with a mini and a bear with a mini to kind of create a striping effect that was a little bit different and would really allow these colors to shine through and pop. So that is what I did. In combination with that, I'm also going to do the mirroring effect. So I've got 25 20-gram minis. And so I'm going to knit, believe it or not, going to knit 51 stripes, I think, on one side before I begin the decreases. And I'm just going to alternate between bare and a mini and bare and a mini. And I'm gonna get through all of my minis. And then once I complete the last one, I'm gonna do a bare stripe to hit the decreases and then continue to mirror then and have one very, very, very large throw. And now the moment you've been waiting for, let's get into what I want to make in 2023. And before I get into this list, I must add in a little note here that I'm not really holding myself accountable to this. If I have a perfect knitting year, these are the things that I would love to be able to sit down at the end of December 2023 and come to you and say, here's what I made. Remember that video I posted in January? I did all of that. But I want to be flexible, and I also need to keep in front of my mind that I knit for joy. I don't knit for work. I don't knit to be stressed. And oftentimes I find if I put a deadline on myself to finish something, a firm deadline, even if it's gift knitting, even if it's for myself, I often feel stressed and bogged down and frustrated, and I dread it. And that's not why I knit, and I'm sure that's not why you knit. So hopefully as you're looking through this, and you will feel inspired by me to work from your stash, but also remember that you're knitting for joy. So if at any time throughout the year I'm like, don't like this project anymore, I'm not going to be afraid to rip it back and start something new or move on to a different project altogether with completely different yarns, because I want to make sure that I'm knitting things for myself this year, and I'm also knitting things that I love, because that's going to basically amount to the most joy from my craft. First and foremost on my makes in 2023 is vanilla socks. And I know you're thinking, Kristina, you always knit vanilla socks. Yes, I do. And it's because they're easy to take with me and I really enjoy them. And I love being warm and snuggly, and having them on my feet is just something I really, really love. But I've done a fair amount of sock knitting for other people, and I'd really love to build up my box of socks. So I'm going to be challenging myself to knit 12 pairs of vanilla socks, 1 pair a month, in 2023. Let me talk to you a little bit more about why I'm choosing to do so. If you are new or you do not know, I currently subscribe to a monthly yarn club from Trilogy Yarns, and every month Nancy of Trilogy Yarns picks a Broadway musical playbill, and she dyes a skein of yarn in the base of your choice to match that playbill. Now, if you're new, you won't know that my degree is in musical theater. I love music, I love the arts, I love theater, I love drama. That was so dramatic. Subscribing to this yarn club is really my most exciting day of the month. When it shows up in my mailbox, I'm always so eager to see which musical did she pick, what does the yarn look like, and she started it in December of 2021. So I got my first skein then, and I have since accumulated, I just got my 13th skein. And I knew I wanted to do something really, really special for myself with these yarns, but I wasn't quite sure what that was. So when I started getting the club last year, I decided that I was going to hold on to them for an entire year and see if there was some sort of pattern or correlation in the dye styles or the musicals that she chose. And if there was, then I would decide later on, after I saw an entire year of yarn together, what I would make with it. Well, it's been an entire year, and I think that there are some skeins that could really, really work very beautifully together. And then there's some other skeins that I think are maybe wouldn't work so well in the mix, but they also are so beautiful they can totally stand alone. And so what I've decided is that I want to knit a pair of socks with all of my Broadway yarn that I've accumulated from December of 2021 to December of 2022. Basically. So I think that actually might be 13 pairs of socks, but we'll see how fast I go. I also want to add that I do have a smaller foot. So I think the last time I weighed my yarn after I knit a pair of socks that I usually have about 40 grams or more after I finish a complete pair of socks for myself left over. So I'm going to keep those 40 grams on the side, and depending on how I'm feeling throughout the year, and once I see them knit up, I might start knitting some squares or knit like a scrappy blanket or something out of the remainder so that then I can have one full like Broadway blanket or something like that, or maybe a sweater. I'm just gonna play it by ear. But again, my primary focus is knitting up my yarn clubs into socks for myself this year. The next thing that is on my to make in 2023 list is none other than the Musselburgh by Ysolda Teague. I'm sure that if you are a knitter or even a crocheter, or you love someone who knits or crochets, you have heard about this hat project. And if you are not new to the Krafty Kristina channel, you will know that I have had very many attempts with this hat, and I have finally been successful. Now that I've got that down pat, I really want to knit one of these hats for myself. I am living in a colder climate now. I was in the desert for several years, and I'm not adjusting well to being back in the snow, in the cold, in the winter. And even though I'm not that much of a hat person, I found that I've been wearing hats a lot more than I typically would. And so I really want to knit something for myself that I can wear out when it's super blistery cold and keep my head cozy and look really cute in a hand knit. So I have got this gorgeous skein of yarn from Jenny of Mountain State Stitches. She primarily makes bags, but she's recently started dyeing yarn, and I could not wait to get my hands on some. So I did order some last year, and I saw this special skein, and I really thought that they were my colors, and I am so excited to knit it up. And I'm going to make a Musselburgh out of myself for it. And I'm really excited to see the way that it pools and the colors shine. And the teal that is in there is really, truly my favorite color. I'm just so looking forward to making myself something warm and cozy to wear out in the cold, and especially with this beautiful yarn. The next pattern I want to talk about and make for myself in 2023 is a pair of fingerless mitts. Now, I will tell you, I have searched high and low on Ravelry for a pattern that really worked with the yarn that I have in mind. And it took me quite some time to get there. I asked for recommendations in my Vlogmas, and you all had so many good recommendations. I've asked friends, and then I've done my own scouring, and I ended up narrowing it down to a couple of patterns. And what made me settle on this one was that the other two patterns that I wanted to knit, one of them was no longer available online, and the other one was in German, and there was not a good English translation that I could understand that somebody had done that I could knit. So I've decided that I am going to knit Patty's Perfect Mitts. It is a free pattern by Hayley Albertson on Ravelry, and she says she basically came up with this pattern because she knit them for her mom, and she wanted her mom to have a pattern that was everything she wanted in a pair of fingerless mitts. And in the picture, you'll see they are 3 colors, but I am going to do them in one, in this gorgeous red heathered yarn. This yarn was a gift to me from a lady-in-law who was out Christmas shopping. She stopped in a yarn store and said she shopped around for way longer than she should have, but she knew that I had to have this. It was so soft and squishy, and if you see a trend here, I really need some more things to keep me warm, and I'm really excited to knit them for myself. So Patty's Perfect Mitts on my to make in 2023. And in fact, they're probably going to be the project that I cast on next. The next project that is on my to make in 2023 list might be surprising, but might not. As I was counting through my stash and looking through my yarns, I realized I have had quite a large collection of Lily's sugar and cream cotton yarn for dishcloths. And I love making dishcloths, and they're so easy to make, and they're so quick to make, and you can do so many out of a skein of yarn, and so I have a lot of that. And so I've decided that this year I want to knit down. This video I'm showing you of the yarn right now is just the full skeins. I still have an entire other container of scraps on scraps of leftovers that I want to knit completely. Gift knit it, I'll knit some for myself. I just want to have a stash that I can give away, and I have loads of family members and friends that really love them, and so I'm committed to knitting that to 1, destash, but 2, give some practical gifts this year. The pattern I want to use is probably some variation of grandmother's favorite dishcloth. One that I think I've made the most recently is Grandmother's Favorite, the Original by Vintage on Ravelry. It's got over 20,000 projects, and I'm sure that that's not just one dishcloth being made in every one of those projects. So very popular, very easy, very mindless, and a great stash buster. So dishcloths, believe it or not, are on my to make in 2023 list. The next pattern I want to talk about is something that I have been wanting to cast on for several months now, and I can't believe I have had all of this yarn in my stash and I'm going to be able to make something out of it in such a beautiful and cohesive way, and that is going to be the Desperate Housewife Cardigan by Melanie Berg. I knit one of Melanie Berg's patterns for the very first time last fall when I knit probably my favorite shawl right now, and that is the NYX shawl. I really love the way that it was written, and I started diving into other things that she had released, and this cardigan was something that was brand new. It's stripy, it's grandpa-y, it's big, it's cozy, it's oversized, it's got pockets, you can add buttons. I think it's going to be something so beautiful and so snuggly and cozy, and I cannot wait to knit it. I actually came up with the idea to knit it with a couple of ladies at my local yarn store who also ended up saving or buying the pattern right after it came out like me. We had other projects we wanted to finish and weren't quite ready with our yarn, so I'm hopeful that I'll also knit that with them, but regardless if my friends at the yarn store are going to knit it or not, I will be making it in 2023. So let me show you my yarn for this. These yarns are a variety of yarns that I have accumulated over the years. The gray is so soft and snuggly. I got it from Sin City Yarn Shop in Las Vegas before we relocated. Same with that mint green, and I think even the gold. I have a couple of skeins in there that are gifts from friends, and I just can't believe that all of these colors have played so beautifully together. Let me show you my swatch. I was swatching for this project. This is how close I am to really making it. And I pulled out some colors I thought would be fun and work well together, and this was my initial swatch. And I thought it was really fun, but then I decided, what if I take these brights out? Because while it's really fun, I also want to make sure it's very, very wearable in my wardrobe. And so that's when I came up with this palette. I think the pattern calls for 6 different colors for the stripes. And on the sample, I think Melanie used maybe 7 or 8 colors for the stripes, but I'm going to be using 6 colors. I am very excited. I'm also very excited to pick out buttons for this project. Is that silly? I think it's just going to be very fun, and I'm definitely going to be learning some new skills. And I know what some of you are thinking. You just talked about how you're going to frog something because you didn't like knitting stockinette flat. And I know that most of this cardigan is going to be stockinette flat. But that's much different because I really was not going to wear that wrap. This cardigan, definitely going to wear, and it's definitely going to be worth the investment. And I'm going to be changing colors a lot. So it's going to keep me engaged and entertained, and ideally having a fun time while I'm learning a few new skills and getting ready to make myself something extra snuggly to wear. The next project that I am adding to my Make in 2023 list is the Trunk Island Tank by Beth McDonald Stone. This pattern I actually stumbled across completely on accident when I was doing that yarn crawl I mentioned just a bit ago in the Pittsburgh area last summer. I went to one of the local yarn stores. It's called Yarns by Designs, and there is a local dyer, Jody of Flower Hill Fleeces, and she put together a very special colorway called Aquagani. And I saw it, and while I was there, this is a DK weight, she also had a sample knit up on the table next to where this yarn was sitting, and it said you could knit the entire tank top with one skein of the DK weight yarn. So of course that was what I bought for myself, and I just love this color. I think it's going to look really beautiful. It just looks like my hair and my reflection. I also have complexion, and especially my eyes. I just think it's going to be so nice to have in the summertime, and I made it for myself. I think it could be a really nice layering piece. I will say though, I think the tank that was on the sample did not have as long straps as what is written in the pattern. I think the straps were written to be tied. I don't think they had the ties. I think that they were just sewn in. So I'm just gonna have to make that call when I get there if I have the yarn to make them long enough, or I might just want, you know, a strappy tank, no bows. But I'm very excited and definitely will be knitting this in 2023. The next project that is on my Make For Me in 2023 list is the Anthology Throw by Helen Stewart. So first of all, I know you're like, girl, you're gonna knit 2 blankies this year, maybe 3 if you're doing one with your Broadway yarn. Yes, I know. I like knitting blankets, and I know they take a long time, but I feel like they're really worth the effort, especially when you have a lot of fun knitting them, you transition colors. I just think they're great. I probably have knit, it's probably up there, whether I've knit more socks or more blankets in my knitting career, but I love them both a lot, and the Anthology Throw is on my list. The Anthology Throw is Helen Stewart's newest throw or blanket pattern, and if you are on any social medias at all, you will know that everybody is knitting it, and I was just having some serious FOMO. Okay, some of my friends were knitting it. I'm seeing it all over the Instagram and the YouTube world. I need to knit it, and I've got the perfect yarn for it. I got a beautiful, beautiful advent calendar in December 2022 from Shirley Bryan Yarns, and it was a fade. And I wanted to see what the fade looked like before I cast on a project, or else I would have just cast on a project, I think, to begin with. And I'm glad that I waited, but I am certain I'm going to use it to knit the Anthology Throw. The fade was just unbelievably beautiful, even more stunning than I could have imagined, and I don't really think it has any other place than to be completely used up in a throw that I will snuggle with for the rest of my life and my loved ones and my future pets and kids. I think we all need to snuggle with a throw from that Shirley Bryan yarn faded advent calendar. So the Anthology Throw, not much else to say, except for I'm excited to knit it in 2023. The rest of the patterns on this list are what you could consider to be my honorable mentions or my optionals for the year if I have time, or if I feel so inclined, or if I'm really fed up with working on something else, or whatever I feel like. And the patterns I'm going to start talking about first are the ones that I want to make out of my repurposed yarn from my frogged projects. So the first pattern that I really have been wanting to make for a very long time, but I wanted to make it intentionally, and I wanted to make it out of yarns that were in my stash. I just wanted to find a way to make it work, and that is the Scattering Petals Cowl by Dana Rae Makes. You've probably seen this. You can hold yarn together to make it a DK weight. I think you can even do it in fingering weight, and it is so cute. You can make it short, you can make it long, but it's double layered, it's warm and beautiful, and I've decided that I want to use that fall Painter's Palette skein set that I am frogging to repurpose for my Annalise wrap for the Scattering Petals Cowl. It's only 6 colors, but I think it's going to be a really nice fall rotation, and I just think I'm getting a lot of wear out of it. It's going to look nice, it's going to work well with a lot of my fall and winter wardrobe. It's also going to work really well with my other hand knits and my coats, which I think is very, very important. You know, I tend to really love to work with color, but I also find that I also like to wear neutrals and things that complement my colors, but I also need things to keep me warm in a professional setting. So I really love those muted neutrals and the warm tones that come from some of the things that I'm going to be making. And I think that this cowl is going to be cozy, but just elegant enough that I can wear it or elevate an outfit in any situation, whether it's personal or professional. And it's going to be so cute. Now, let's talk about repurposing that beautiful lavender DK weight yarn. It's soft, it's squishy, it's alpaca. I mean, who doesn't want to wear that? It is like delicious. I just want to wrap myself up in it. But in looking at that color and looking at the pattern that I started to work up with it, the pebble tunic, I love the pebble tunic. I want to make it. I don't think I want to make it in that yarn anymore. That yarn to me speaks, it needs to be something a little bit more romantic and feminine and elegant. And so I was perusing some things that I saved as a favorite to go back and look at later in my Ravelry. And I also did a little bit of searching for DK weight sweater patterns with the quantity of yarn that I have. And that's important to remember because it is discontinued yarn. So what I have is what I've got, and I'm not going to get any more ever again. So in my searching, I've come up with 3 patterns that I potentially will use this yarn for. And I think it really just depends on when I get there and what I'm feeling like I want to knit. I will have to say the sweater that is at the top of my list, and if I were going to cast on a sweater immediately right now, I would be casting on the Camellia sweater by, oh man, I can't say this name, Guinevere Dungeon. Oh God. It is cabled. There's 2 different necklines. I would do like that scoop neck. It's a little bit cropped, but I think it could be worn in a lot of situations. I could be cozy at home. I could be working from home, but still comfy and professional. I could be snuggling on my couch. I could be at the office. Like, I could be doing a lot of things in this sweater. I'm a little bit scared of it. I bought and downloaded the pattern, and a lot of it is a chart, and I've never done cabling before. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm pretty confident that I can conquer it as long as I don't let my nerves get the best of me. And I know it's knitting, and I know it's supposed to be fun, so that would be what I want to cast on. If I were to cast it on today, I am filling up for the challenge. The other 2 patterns that I want to talk about, before I talk about them, the other thing that I like about that Camellia sweater is I think I would be able to use up all of the yarn. I don't love the idea of having only a little bit of it left because I can't get any more, and I don't know if I'm going to use it again for another project for any reason, unless it would be scrappy. So Camellia sweater, top of my list. Pattern looks intimidating, but I still think that that's what I will use it for. If I don't do it, here are the 2 other patterns that I'm considering. The first is the Summer Soufflé by Laura Penrose. I've been seeing this soufflé floating around in worsted, and I think there was like a mohair lace weight, super cute, super feminine, super beautiful. And I think the Summer Soufflé is DK weight. I think it could work really well for the yarn. I think it would be just feminine enough, but also simple and very flattering. I could probably wear it a little bit more, but also it is alpaca. The only thing I'm nervous about with the Summer Soufflé is that I don't think it's going to use all the yarn. So I do really like it, but it might not be for this yarn. And the final pattern that I am considering making with that repurposed lavender yarn is, you guessed it, the Ranunculus by Knit Cafe Midori. I've seen so many people knit this, and I know it's very popular and everybody loves it for so many reasons. And at first glance I looked at it and I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand the hype, and I don't know when it was first like getting very popular how much I actually liked the pattern. And it was something that I think I wanted to knit because other people were knitting, but I didn't want to knit it for me. But now that I've really seen a couple of people make it and talk about the pattern, and I've been doing a lot of looking in the project pages, I do think it's something I would have fun knitting. I think it would be a fun knit, and an enjoyable knit, and I also think it would use up all of the yarn that I have, and it would be just feminine enough that I could get a lot of beautiful wear out of it. So a ranunculus is also potentially on my to make in 2023 list. The final two patterns I want to share with you today are things that I think would be really fun scrap busters for me. Or maybe I shouldn't say scrap busters, but I think that they're projects that you could really pull 2 to 6 skeins randomly out of your stash if they work well enough together, and really get rid of them and use them in a way that would be wearable and fun. I'm going to start first with a sweater that I have been dying to make for a very long time, and that is the Gracious sweater by Espostrico. I think it is so cute, so flowy, just boxy enough, like everything I want in a sweater. It's drapey, but like still comfy. I'm not gonna have to like be worried about like where it's sitting, when it's sitting, whatever I'm doing. Like I think it'd be very, very wearable, the style of it. And I love the stripes. I love the color block look. And I think it would be really, really easy to pick 4 skeins out of your stash to do. Now, I will say, I have had 4 skeins in my stash for a couple of years for my 2020 advent calendar. And I love the yarn. It's very soft and warm, but I don't know how much I have of it left, and I really want to use it in a project together, and that is these 4 yarns here. They're yummy neutral. They're super cute, and my initial thought was that I could make the Gracious with it. I even have a pattern saved in some particular order. I can't remember which order I said I would do it in. Maybe like brown, tan, gray, black, I think was what I was thinking would be my order. I think it would be really fun, but I don't know if it's going to give me that drape because of the texture. I also kind of want that to be a lighter weight sweater and not so heavy, and I think the alpaca might make me a little too warm. I could be wrong. I also might not have enough, but I really want to use those. So if I don't make that sweater in these 4, I certainly have plenty of other colors in my stash to use. But that did get me thinking about how I would really love another shawl or 2 that was very, very neutral and transitional and wearable in my wardrobe. And that led me to find the Rue Shawl by Nina Machlin Dayton. This is a light fingering weight shawl, 2 skeins from stash, okay? $7 pattern. I love stripes. I think it's going to be really easy to mix and match colors. You could do bright, you could do neutrals, and you know, I even pulled a couple of things out of my stash, so I'll give you a closer look of those. If I were to use things from my stash, I would consider the tan and the brown, the gray and the black, or even these 2 beautiful blue single skeins I have in my stash. One is a little bit closer to denim and the other is a much lighter wash. But I think all of those, regardless of what they are, would be very neutral, and I think I would enjoy that shawl. It looks like it's a fantastic size for what I like to wear. It's just big enough, triangle. I think that's easier to style for me, and something that I would really, really love and wear a lot. Even if I didn't use those colors, I think it's a wonderful stash buster. I think you could totally pick 2 random skeins out of your stash. I mean, like, I could look over here and like even pull out, I don't know. I mean, I think there's loads of things. What color did I just grab? I mean, like, there's lots of things that you could do, right? So like, you could do 2 greens. You could do, these are teeny button, a green and a gold. I mean, I just think the possibilities really are endless. You could do, I don't know, would you do like 2 variegateds? I mean, it could really be whatever it is that you want it to be. So my friends, from socks to shawls to dishcloths to sweaters, this is 16 patterns that I want to make, finish, or frog in 2023. From my stash, I must add. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing how quickly I destashed this year and seeing what my projects actually look like and being able to look back at the end of 2023 and say, wow, look at all those things I've created, or wow, look how much knitting I didn't get done. I hope this video was fun for you and inspirational and maybe gave you some ideas of things that you can be doing to knit from your stash in 2023 right along with me. If you enjoyed it, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought and what you're going to be working on in 2023, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.